Well, we're almost there. You may be seated. This is a portion where we recognize our military and pray for our military men and women. We have two distinguished guests who will be praying and leading us in prayer for our military. First off, we'll have Brigadier General Chris McPadden. Brigadier General McPadden is a graduate of the United States Military Academy. He holds a master's degree in history from Brown University, a Master of Military Art and Science from the School of Advanced Military Studies, and a Master of Strategic Studies from the U.S. Army War College. In his current assignment, he is the Director of Joint Strategic Planning and Policy Directorate for the Joint Staff. And followed, we'll go into prayer from Chaplain Colonel Kenneth Williams from the Pentagon. Chaplain Kenneth Williams is currently stationed at the Pentagon, and he has a bachelor degree in pastoral ministry, a Master of Divinity. He holds a Master of Leadership and Ethics, as well as a PhD in Leadership and Organizational Change. He is a graduate of the United States Army Airborne School. Please help me welcome Brigadier General Chris McPadden.
Good morning. It is a privilege to participate in this time-honored tradition. I followed it for many years, and it's quite an honor to be here. I should say thank you to the National Day of Prayer Task Force, and particularly Mrs. Dobson for your leadership, and John Bornstein for yours, and all the help in bringing this together. It's really quite an effort. I'm also very honored to convey my personal views on how we might pray for the military. So that's what I've been asked to do. So I'm laying out some things that I hope will encourage you and inspire you, provoke you, promote you to pray for our military. And so I'll cover a couple areas. I think just to cut to the chase, there are about four groups of people that we should probably focus on for prayer when we think about our military. The first group is really the service member. Of course, DoD civilians, there are many civilians in our military, as well as veterans. The second group is military families and survivors. The third group I would categorize as the chaplains. Ken is a great example of that. And the fourth group is our senior military leaders. And when you consider the pace of their lives and the level of the decisions they have to make, praying for them is really important. You know, less than 1% of our nation actually serves in our military. That's, to me, learning about that, I thought that was a significant percentage, and that is so few people actually serve in the military. You know, our service members, our nation's sons and daughters, our blood and treasure, they serve tirelessly, selflessly, voluntarily, and untiringly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year across the world. Right now, we have about 190,000 service members either deployed or stationed in over 140 countries on behalf of our nation's security. It's worth reflecting on the fact that we live in a free country, in large part due to service members' sacrifices. Through history, their selfless service to pay freedom's price has been, in some cases, in many cases, paid with their own lives. And our freedom is sustained because service members continue to pay that price even today. U.S. Navy SEAL Keating is a great example. So in praying for service members, a couple of things that I would encourage. We can pray, obviously, for their wisdom, their judgment, their protection as they train for and conduct operations in life and death situations as individuals and as leaders of fellow warriors in harm's way. We can pray for their mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual resilience as they're pushed to the limits of their capabilities and facing challenging missions ranging from active, sustained combat operations to humanitarian disasters. We can also pray, obviously, for their courage and mission accomplishment as they face ruthless and relentless enemies that would harm them and our nation. The second group we can pray for is military families who arguably experience one of the most transitory lifestyles of any profession. Our nation asks our military families to move frequently to locations never before known or seen, and often in the absence of family members, service member, due to mission requirements or deployments. In fact, on average, military families move about every 3 years. And an average military child will move between 6 and 9 times in a school career. As one Army chaplain stated, to be in the military is to be in a constant state of temporary relationships. And I recently heard the daughter of a soldier, okay, it might be me, declare after her 9th move by her 15th year of age, "Dad, as an Army brat, I know what we're called to do. We're called to move." And she's here today, my precious Mela, with my wonderful wife, Linda. We can pray for their understanding, patience, flexibility, and the support of friends and neighbors, as transitory as they may be. And we can say prayers of gratitude for their remarkable resilience and their contributions to our communities and our nation. The phrase, "a servant's heart," comes to mind. The third group we can pray for is chaplains. This is very personal to me and very important, as are each of these categories. They shoulder the burden of providing for the spiritual welfare of our entire military. Having seen numerous chaplains across the services all over the world, their ability to diligently minister to the spiritual needs of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, civilians, and families is unquantifiable. When service members and units experience a significant emotional, psychological, or spiritual event, the first responder is usually the chaplain. Their ability to bring clarity, peace, perspective, and compassion in the midst of the most confusing and chaotic situations, both at the operational and the personal level, is really remarkable. Chaplains administer spiritual balm that keeps our service members, families, and units functioning at their optimal level. Like many others I know, were it not for the ministry of chaplains, I would not be in the military today. Toughest part of my remarks coming. It was in fact through a chaplain who remains unknown to me today, who placed religious material at the United States Military Academy Prep School, where cadet candidate McPadden, who had no spiritual background, picked up his first Gideon's Bible. And in reading that, I prayed the prayer in the back and became a Christian. And so we can pray for chaplains, their stamina, their ability to effectively minister to those under their spiritual care, and as they steadily refresh others, that they too would be refreshed by friends and by the God they serve. There's a phrase in the chaplaincy, I think it makes a lot of sense. Every chaplain needs a chaplain. I often reflect on George Washington's remarkable wisdom and vision in instituting the chaplaincy during the American Revolution. Finally, we can pray for our senior military leaders. Having served closely with a number of these leaders, there is no group of people bearing greater responsibility for addressing our nation's thorniest security challenges, unflappable in maintaining a steady eye on both service members and mission accomplishment. Our senior leaders exemplify character, commitment, and competence. We can pray for their stamina, judgment, and wisdom as they make life and death decisions on myriad issues at an unrelenting pace. In sum, there may be no greater investment in our military than in treating the guidance and blessings of heaven for our service members, DoD civilians, and veterans, along with their families and survivors, military chaplains, and military leaders, to ensure we sustain the greatest military in the world, defending, protecting, and preserving the greatest nation in the world. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your prayers, past, present, and future, and may God truly bless America as a result.